This is Zachlog the Great, and I am here tonight with my friend Nate.
Hello.
And with Lewis.
Howdy.
And we are getting together tonight to talk about Rudyard Kipling's poem, Et Dona Ferentes. I apologize if I'm mangling the Greek. As usual, before we get started, I did want to say, if you like what I do, if you want to support my work, you can go to subscribestar.com/Zachlog-the-great, link in the description. And I want to say a thank you during the video to JB14 for being the most recent one to join up. And thank you for your support. Having said that, Nate has kindly volunteered to read the poem for us tonight, so I'm going to get that up for us.
We'll see about the kindness.
Oh, this man's got a voice like honey. I'm ready to listen.
Okay. And
you know what? That's really small.
He's got to get his own copy up.
Yeah.
I mean, like you do. You got to get your own paperwork and get your own screen.
Here we go. Let all that load. Just trying to sell me women's dresses for some reason. Use this computer.
Well, unless you've got a life that I know nothing about.
I have a lot of life you don't know anything about, but that's not part of it.
That's fair.
He has a wife who, wears dresses. So.
Yeah. At Dona Ferentes, 1896. An extended observation of the ways and works of man, from the 4-mile radius roughly to the plains of Hindustan, I have drunk with mixed assemblies, seen the racial ruction rise, and the men of half-creation damning half-creation's eyes. I've watched them in their tantrums, all that Pentecostal crew, French, Italian, Arab, Spaniard, Dutch and Greek, and Russ and Jew. Celt and savage, buff and ochre, cream and yellow, mauve and white, but it never really mattered till the English grew polite. Till the men with polished toppers, till the men in long frock coats, till the men who do not duel, to the men who war with votes, till the breed that take their pleasures as St. Lawrence took his grid, began to beg your pardon, and the knowing croupier hid. Then the bandsmen with their fiddles and the girls that bring the beer felt the psychological moment, left the lit casino clear. But the uninstructed alien from the Teuton to the Gaul was entrapped once more, my country, by that suave, deceptive drawl. As it was in ancient Suez, or neath wilder, milder skies, I observe with apprehension how the racial ructions rise, and with keener apprehension, if I read the times aright, hear the old casino order, watch your man, but be polite. Keep your temper, never answer. That was why they spat and swore. Don't hit first, but move together. There's no hurry. To the door. Back to back and facing outward, while the linguist tells them how. Nous sommes allons à notre bateau. Nous ne voulons pas en râle. My apologies to the French. So the hard pent rage ate inward till some idiot went too far. Let 'em have it, and they had it, and the same was merry war. Fist, umbrella, cane, decanter, lamp, and beer mug, chair, and boot, till behind the fleeing legions rose the long hoarse yell for loot. Then the oilcloth with its numbers like a banner fluttered free. Then the grand piano cantered on 3 casters down the key. White and breathing through their nostrils, silent, systematic, swift. They removed, effaced, abolished all that man could heave or lift. Oh, my country, bless the training that from cot to castle runs, the pitfall of the stranger, but the bulwark of thy sons. Measured speech and ordered action, sluggish soul and unperturbed, till we wake our island devil, nowise cool for being curbed. When the heir of all the ages has the honor to remain, when he will not hear an insult, though men make it ne'er so plain, when his lips are schooled to meekness, when his back is bowed to blows. Well the keen as Vogels know it, well the waiting jackal knows. Build on the flanks of Etna where the sullen smoke puffs float, or bathe in tropic waters where the lean fin dogs the boat. Cock the gun that is not loaded, cook the frozen dynamite. But oh, beware my country when my country grows polite.
Okay. Thank you, Nate.
Beautiful.
So I'm gonna throw in my opening comment here, and then I'm gonna hand it off to Lewis for a moment. There are not enough poems about international bar fights.
This is true.
So, when I found this one, like, we had to do this. Lewis, so what are your first thoughts on this one?
Well, at first, my thoughts were of. At first, I thought he was kind of rousing people to action. It's like, beware, because my countrymen have become too polite. As he said, just let it roll off. Don't swear, and allow. Just head towards the door. Just take it on the chin. And in some ways, that can be interpreted, especially by one's enemies, as acquiescence, meekness, just being able to step all over them like a doormat. And when that's the case, they start taking more and more liberties until finally somebody snaps. When, by all rights, they should have just stood up and said, "Whoa, hold up," and then it wouldn't have escalated. So my first thought is he's encouraging people to talk more and fight less. So if you're afraid of being looked on as impolite, well, that's not nearly as bad as killing people. So talk, even if you're rude.
Well, and also it's like, look, things are not always as they seem. And, if you're dealing with the English and they start getting very formal and very, very, very careful and very, polite with you.
Very measured, very stiff.
Things might go south quickly. How about you, Nate? What's your first thoughts on this one?
Well, I mean, it reminds me of, this kind of, the slow, deceptive drawl. And I'm like, well, that sounds like you're talking about the South. No, I say, sir, whatever do you mean with these accusations? And that's the chance to go, okay, you know what? Maybe, perhaps, I should rethink this, because that dude's about to sling a gat from under that very fancy waistcoat and just, ruin my evening wear.
To place this in the context of the South, bless his heart.
Bless their heart, we're gonna whoop them till they're skinny. Bunch of fat French.
So I have to.
Better than the Belgians.
That does remind me. So for any of our audience who don't, well, there's two translations I guess you have to throw in here. The title, Et Dona Ferentes, is from Greek, and it's even bearing gifts, as in, I fear the Greeks even when they come bearing gifts. And then there's a line of, I have it on authority of someone who at least learned French pretty well in school. Badly done French. But that's not me. That's not me. That's passing that on from someone else. But somewhat badly done French. We are getting in our boat. We don't want a row, and row doesn't fit in the French. He's kind of dropping that in, and it's kind of I think it's a pun, as in there's a row that you row a boat with, but there's also a row as in, they're getting into a row. They're getting, it's a, slightly archaic word for a fight. So,
Well, it's a slightly British word for a fight.
yeah, I don't know if it's a current one. I mean, I'm not.
Oh, a ruction, fisticuffs, a Donnybrook.
I've also heard it pronounced as a row.
Yeah, I think it is in that.
Yeah.
I think it is in that context. But it's
spelled
a
the same way too. Weirdly enough.
But so having got those translations, this actually also reminds me a little bit of another Rudyard Kipling poem, a rather better known one. Although the title is often incorrect, The Beginnings, also known as The Wrath of the Awakened Saxon. Because, in that one he says, when they're angry, it's not you're not going to see it, and they're going to take their time. And then by the time they start moving, you're already dead. By the time they start moving, it's way too late to fix anything. So,
I mean, it reminds me of my dad's advice about, schoolyard issues, which is, son, never start a fight, but always finish them. It was like, yes, sir. Says, don't be swing first. But if somebody wants to come at you, lay them out. Okay, Pop.
Good advice.
I don't think I ever got advice quite like that from my dad. I kind of wish I had. I think that probably would be a good probably is a good general plan. But
my older brother was getting kind of bullied by a kid when he was in like 4th grade, and so my dad spent like 2 hours in the kitchen teaching us how to step into a gut punch.
I love your dad.
Oh, my dad's the best. My dad is a sweethearted, gentle man most of the time. But if you come at him, like I said, I've seen my dad. Some dudes are doing, donuts in the trailer park we owned for a while, and he comes out there and cranks off a round out of 12 gauge and is like, "You shut down that truck, or I will do it." I was like, "Yeah, let's go, Dad."
Good man.
Like I said, my dad. So my dad looks like he ought to be leaping off the prow of a dragon ship with a spear in his hand. And so we call him Steve the Red sometimes, but yeah, but like I said, very loving man, patient, doesn't want to hurt anybody, but once you tip him over, it's gonna be a bad few minutes before he stands himself back up.
Fair enough. Note to self: do not pick a fight with Nate's dad.
Another quick vocabulary note here. Osvogel is I think it's African, a kind of vulture, by the way. Which so
it's a bit of Afrikaans there, or Afrikaans.
Is that
really this poem was written like to talk about a situation that arose over some tensions in South America, where the British they're having like some skirmishes with over the borders in French Guiana, and there's a thought that maybe the Brits were going to bring in heavier action over it, and that was actually bringing them into conflict with the United States because Monroe Doctrine, stay in the Eastern Hemisphere, you jackwagons. And we were to be like, we're going to flex a little bit on this and be like, no, this is our hemisphere. All right, we mess around in South America. You continental clingers on can go over there and squabble over Africa. You have your own sort of chicken nugget shaped continent to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
It was and apparently Kipling effectively stole the last line of the poem, but oh, beware my country when my country grows polite. Apparently he stole that from an editorial in a newspaper about this brewing, about this potential conflict.
I do like how it really shows the whole, like what happens when they finally let loose, and they just took all of it, just broke it up, tore down. Except they took the piano. It was like, come on, boys, what a cracking fine piano they've got here. I believe it should come with us.
Well, I don't know if that's about stealing it. I don't know if that's about stealing it or about like basically grabbing this heavy object and sending it, running down this pier at the people they're in a fight with. Like they're trying to run them over with a piano. Hulk smash!
Oh look! Behind the fleeing legions rose a long hoarse yell for loot, and then it talks about stuff. So no, they've cleared the room, and now they're like, all right, give it, take everything. And so they're like,
you have a point there.
Did they take the piano on board a ship, or did they just huck it in the ocean?
I mean, either would work. Either would make sense in context.
Yeah. Heave it in the harbor. It's the French Guiana piano party. Whoosh, whoosh.
The British strike me as more tipping fine piano here. I think I'll take it. And as they roll it out, you hear a thunk thunk as they roll it over the guy that they've just beaten to a pulp.
I was hoping, and I emailed him, but he didn't get back to me.
Harbor is a passing fine pianist. Tinkle the old ivories there, chap. They hand your effect quite a marvelous melody. Oh,
I was hoping that I could get Ben Zvitsky on for this one, being an actual Englishman, and get his opinion. And I emailed him, but he did not get back to me.
I love how build your city on an active volcano, get blown up, whatever. You take your risk. Swim in shark-infested waters, fine. Play with guns, put dynamite on the stove, whatever. Don't worry about any of that when the English are being too nice to you. All right. I'm like, I understand. I mean, okay, look, it reminds me of an old joke I heard. It says that you fight an Englishman with your fists. You fight a Scotchman with a stick. You fight an Irishman with a knife. You fight a Welshman with a gun. You fight a Russian with a grenade. And for God's sake, you do not fight a Cajun. Cajun, I'm like, I tell you, don't you go messing no Cajun. But
I haven't heard that, but I love it.
Listen, I feel like old Rudyard here is like, look, my American friends, please don't mess with my British ancestors. It's a problem. And we're like, we messed with your British ancestors in 1776. Threw an uppercut from the ground and laid them out.
With the help of the French, who, as far as if I understand correctly, were mostly doing that because they just hated the British at the time, which is kind of a long running thing.
Oh no, we have no more treasure. We cannot help this. Just wait against the whom? The English. Yes. Send the fleet. All of them. Set sail. I'm enjoying getting to do like a million accents in this one. It's fun. I'm having a good time.
Oh, très bien, monsieur, très bien.
So, well, I mean, let's see the accents. There's French, Italian, Arab, Spaniard, Dutch, and Greek, and Russ, and Jew. How many of those could you pull up? Have fun storming the castle, boy!
Yeah, guys. Okay.
I called dibs on the Russian.
Fine. Hey, make sure you bring home the piano. I've heard it's a nice piano. I want it. Okay? Look, it looked right in my parlor.
We're going to fight to bring back the vodka.
Obviously, we have the French. Oh, je suis baguette à hotel.
Yeah, I have to say, like, I love the
Greek.
Oh, God.
Do the Russian. Can do Russian. It's good.
That's good.
One. Eric, you probably get flagged for racism. It sounds really, really terrible.
I'm part Russian. I can get away with it.
I can't do Castilian Spanish, though.
The Spaniards,
So,
they sound different, but they sound very close. I cannot help it, but I almost sound Italian when I do it.
No, you sound an Italian. You sound you are from Salerno.
So
no, you gotta think of Banderas.
I want to get back to this in a minute, but I will say there's a Russian movie I watched a few years ago, actually with our mutual friend Chris, the first time. It's called Night Watch. And you've seen this? And I have this thing. I will sometimes unintentionally start imitating accents if I hear them for a while. I was actually afraid at one point that there was someone I was in school with who had had like a strong Mississippi accent. I was really afraid at some points that I was gonna start doing that around him, and he would think I was making fun of him and like punch me or something. Didn't happen, but anyway. But I'll start imitating accents sometimes. So we watched this movie in Russian, and with subtitles. And then afterwards, for a couple of hours, Chris said I was speaking with a Russian accent.
Nice.
It's an interesting movie, by the way. Very odd, but interesting movie. Anyway, but to repeat my old line, back to the poem. I have to say, I think my favorite line, one of my favorite lines in this one, actually is right after the part we were just talking about. They removed, effaced, abolished all that man could heave or lift. Like, by the time they're done, the only thing that's left in that place that hasn't either, been smashed over someone's head or, just ripped up and thrown around is the floor. And there are a couple of floorboards ripped up, now that you mention it.
You took the words out of my mouth. That reminds me of the sacking of Troy, actually.
Yeah. So the hard pent rage ate inward till some idiot went too far. You see, that's the point where all that stiff upper lip gets to be a little too much. I'm like, okay, you got to eventually be like, lads, please understand, we've no wish for violence, but if you continue down this path, it's uppercuts for all of you. But the said, we're going to be raking teeth off the craps table.
On the other hand, I mean, you have to admit, this did work pretty well for them for a while. I mean, they had a good, 200 plus years where, they were running the English, this little island, off the coast of Europe, were running like a quarter of the planet. But
that's less because of their restraint, more because they were like, smashing great country. I'll take it. What are these spices? Wonderful. We're not going to use them.
Jolly good.
Yeah, indeed, Nigel.
Not.
Right, sir.
Did you say you found opium? It's marvelous. Let's go sell this off.
Let's go get all the Chinese hooked on this.
Oh, jolly good.
Smashing.
Slaves, you say? Oh, marvelous. Let's sell some of them.
No.
Well, okay, now to be fair, the English Empire was also the people who decided, you know what? This whole slave trade thing,
not
only are we done with it, all of you are done with it too. It is stopping now.
And they were the first to come up with it. So, to be fair, to give the devil his due, they did do that. So, kudos on that.
But yeah, I mean, this whole thing is a lot of fun. But it breaks down. I don't feel like there's a whole lot of discussion to be done about it. Just because it's like, yes, everything's cool, but then the British all kind of pack together and they're all being very polite. And then if you start the fight, it's on. There's no putting the fuse back in the grenade. It's just like, no, here it goes.
So if the Greeks come bearing gifts, beware. If the British start being polite, beware. If the Germans tell you that they're best friends with you, beware.
No, if the Germans swear to God they're not going to come after you.
There you go.
Aggression pacts with you, beware. And if they start putting down their drinks, beware.
No, that's not nothing to go into right now. But
no, what?
So
what crossed your mind?
Well, I saw a while ago, and I didn't. This was a blog post, and he was referring to more scholarly article, and he said like there's some, what is it? There are some indications that the reason that Hitler ordered an invasion of Russia, who were theoretically their allies at the time, was because he realized.
There's no theoretically about it. They were.
Well, he realized that the Soviet Union was placing a lot of troops on their border, and basically the Soviet Union was getting ready to invade Germany.
See, that's the weird thing. The Soviet Union was getting ready to attack, but they were getting ready to attack Finland, Norway, Denmark, and they were looking to take over a bit of Poland, which they were promised by the Germans when they said, "Okay, when the dust settles, you get this cut." So the Russians were caught off guard so bad when the Germans attacked that Stalin had no plan. They literally spent 3 weeks just going, "Okay, everybody back up until we can figure out a plan."
Where's Zhukov? Where's that Zhukov guy that's doing so good against the Chinese? Get him over here. We need him. So my older, on a very, very tangentially related note, my older brother got a small dog with, sort of stubby legs of a certain sheep herding breed. And they named him something stupid. I forget what they named him. I renamed that dog. That dog's name is now Corgi Zhukov. And anytime I go to his house, I'm like, "Hey, Zhukov, how you doing, buddy?" And he comes running, and I'm like, "Yeah, you're a good little dog, Corgi."
Bravo.
Corgi Zhukov.
Whenever that actually reminds me, you can also tell when dogs are about to do something stupid, because whenever they get really quiet, really still, and they focus in, their tails stop wagging, their hackles start getting raised, that's when you know a fight's about to go down for a dog. Because they're not barking anymore. They're like, "Okay, barking's not working. Okay, we're about to go in for a fight now."
So what I hear you saying is that you're comparing the English people to dogs.
I'm comparing
I'm
comparing every living thing to having a breaking point.
Yeah. No, but like I said, I don't feel like I have a whole lot more to say about it. It's a very amusing thing, and I feel like, he's sort of he lays down this apocalyptic vision of what happens when you poke the Englishman a little bit, and I'm like, okay.
Almost like you hear Mozart's Dies Irae in the background. It's like as you watch the fights, Dies Irae. What is going on?
Nice. I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of that's been beaten out of them because now they've got a bunch of Islamists rolling the streets, telling them they can't drink in their own pubs. And I'm like, wait, hold on.
Well, have they started being really polite to the Muslims yet?
Far too polite.
Question.
Okay. So I guess, Nate, you feel like you've said most of what you have to say about this one?
I've said more than I had to say about this one.
Okay. Lewis, was there anything you wanted to add about the poem?
Oh, just that every living thing has a point in which every living thing has a fight or flight response, and at a certain point, there you get backed into a wall, and flight is no longer an option, whether it be socially, physically, emotionally, what have you. And once you get to that point, once the fight is the only option, even a rat, when backed into a corner, will fight. So something as noble and as powerful as the Englishman, once they start being polite, you know something's about to go down.
And that is a good point, and that's why Sun Tzu, says that if you want to win a battle against great odds, you make sure you put your men in a position from which they cannot retreat. However, if you are the aggressor, you make sure to always leave the enemy soldier a line of retreat. Otherwise, you're going to get mauled.
Or you're going to pay for a victory that is just way too expensive, even if you do win.
Right, you always put the enemy in a place where they have an opportunity to retreat. Otherwise, if they see, well, we're gonna die anyway. Okay, let's take as many with us as we can.
All aboard the ass whooping express. Choo choo, let's go.
Well,
okay.
Arvin, in that case, it doesn't matter what you do. You can just kill the Arvin with a butter knife.
You make a good point. Even at that point, even a rock is a weapon. So even something improvised, and we're back at the bar.
Or narwhal tusk.
Hey,
wasn't that the thing that one guy? Yeah. Okay.
With a narwhal tusk, and I'm like, where do you even find one of those? I'm like, seriously, what kind of fantasy weapon bullcrap is this?
This is like that's the point where you get dropped into a battle royale FPS, and you're like, I gotta have a weapon. What's close? Everyone got all the good things. Okay, I guess I get the narwhal tusk. Fine. Okay.
Playing the game with a randomizer, you're like, oh god, the weapon skills in this game are suck.
All right, well, I guess we've covered the poem about as much as we're going to. So thank you guys for joining me tonight, and we will close out. Good night, guys.
The guy's a freaking war druid. He's got proficiency in two-handed stabbing weapons, but they have to be natural material.
You have to beat them over the head with it.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Peace.